Abraham Lincoln's male secretary one day came to him and said to Mr. Lincoln, "I've got a letter for you." It was his job to open up the envelope, and he handed the folded letter to Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln took the letter, opened it up, looked at it for a while, and he closed the letter, turned to his male secretary and said, "You know what? I've received many letters where they wrote the letter, the author wrote the letter and forgot to sign their name. This is the first letter where they signed their name and forgot to write the letter." The mere fact that someone calls you a fool doesn't make you a fool, correct? But how often aren't we affected by the opinions of other people? How often are we not held back by what we think other people think of us? For too long, I was too sensitive about the word stupid. You see, there was a time when I noticed that my father on the farm was battling to get into the land. We had planted the maize or the corn, and then the rain came, and as the corn grew, or the maize grew, and we needed to put the tiller in, the rain came again, and the soil was too soggy, and by the time that the soil was dry enough, the corn had grown too high, and if we would then put the tractors in, it would break the corn. So I tried to help Dad, and I said to him one day, I said, "Dad, I've got an idea. If we put bigger rims on the back of the tractors and put bigger tires on, we can lift the back. And if we put an extension on the axle that goes down on the tractors, we can lift the entire tractor, and we can work even at a time when the corn was normally too high." Dad looked at me and said, "I don't know where I got you from. These stupid ideas that you come with." You know what, friends? 20 years later, they've developed those tractors. And farmers are using it on a regular basis. Many years later, I would be in employment, and I would develop new projects for the church. And I had a director that was extremely jealous of the success that God gave. And when I would sit down with him to share some ideas to benefit the entire program of the church, he would look at me and say, "I can't believe that a grown man like you can be so stupid." Why are we so sensitive for certain words? Why do we become so reactive? Last night we looked at the Bible text in Isaiah 14 verse 12 to 14, and we saw that Satan has an eye problem. Satan is super conscious about himself. And we also saw last night that when an injury can happen early in our developmental years, that we will also have the potential of have Satan's ideology superimposed on our lives. I want to share with you how Christ is so different to Satan. In Philippians 2 verse 1 to 18 we read, "Have this mind amongst yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of what? of a servant, being born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. While Satan's whole ideology is to move upwards and to show how important he is, Jesus, who was all, sought no robbery, to go down in the opposite direction, to humble himself, to become nothing, to even to die the cruelest death on the cross. I just wonder, how is it with you? I look back at my own marriage and my relationships with the people that were very important in my life, and as I struggled with my journey of my own emotional pain, I so desperately wanted people to see that I was important. I would sometimes say to my wife, and I would sometimes write a note to my wife and say, am I of worth to you? What was I trying to do? To get her to speak my worth and my value. So we looked last night at this diagram of self and self-value, the Hellenistic one, and we noticed that our default way of developing our sense of self can in actual fact be hijacked by Satan, and he brings about a formula, a satanic formula in our life where we try to perform to convince others that I do have importance and significance. I wondered whether today you were able to notice that there was some self-talk as things happen in your life, that you had your own schizophrenic moments. Is there anyone that noticed it in their own life? My friends, the biggest challenge for us is to become aware that it does exist. Because someone confronts you, and in most cases we cannot really hear what that person is trying to tell us. Tonight's presentation is why I cannot hear what you are saying. So let me ask you a question then tonight. Who do you talk to the most? Who is it that you talk to the most? Any ideas? You talk to yourself. Very good. We talk to yourself. What is it that we talk to ourselves most of the time about? Our own value. We talk to ourselves most of the time about our own value. And as someone talks to us, we constantly try and evaluate what they are really trying to say to us about who I am. So let's take it into a marital situation. And when a husband neglects in his busyness of his life to show love to his spouse, to his wife, what does the wife do? She neglects to show respect to her husband. And we can turn it around. When the wife neglects to show respect to the wife, how does the husband react to that? Come on, let's be honest tonight. We live in a real world, don't we? I'll tell you, my friend, when I feel that my wife neglects to respect me, I sort of withdraw that responsibility of showing her love. And that becomes a crazy cycle in our marriage. that really churns it up, and very quickly we are at loggerheads and we're fighting and we blame each other, saying, you don't care, you don't love me anymore, you don't respect me. Well, ladies say, you need to earn respect. Ephesians chapter 5, and we'll come to that, when we talk about the problems in paradise, not heaven, we're talking about paradise of marriage. We find in Ephesians chapter 5 that the instruction is given to the wife to love the husband, to the husband to love the wife. But when it comes to the wife's responsibility, the word love is not used, but the word respect is used. And I wonder why. Over 7,000 men were asked the question, would you prefer that your wife love you but don't respect you? Or would you prefer that your wife respects you while not loving you? Over 80% of the males in the research program chose which one? Respect. They would rather prefer that their wives respect them while not loving them. And as they continued the research, they came to the conclusion that the way that the male understands love is when the important people in their life actually respects them. Now, I grew up with knowing very clearly that my responsibility is to love my wife. But I also grew up knowing that I need to earn respect. So wait a minute. That means that the male is responsible for his wife's love, for loving her, as well as the wife responsible to get the wife to love him. That's not fair, is it? Gentlemen? What Paul in the book of Ephesians is trying to say to us is that our responsibility as wives is as equal to the responsibility that the male has to love as that the wife needs to respect her husband, regardless of how he acts and behaves. So that requires, dear ladies, a knowing of who you are. Because if males in this congregation is like me, we will say the wrong words, we will do the wrong things that will make the wife feel as though she's not loved. I just need to walk into the house to do that. When two women come together to connect, what do? How do women connect? They talk to each other. How do males connect? They do things together. Don't talk, just do things together. So when the male comes home, the husband comes home, the wife sits there waiting for the husband to come and sit down and for them to connect and to talk. And she's been looking forward to this moment the entire day. And then she hears the car stop outside. He walks through the front door and he just says, hello. And he's off to the bedroom. He gets into his work clothing and he's out the back door in the garden or under the car. She sits there and she says to herself, is honeymoon over? He's not even interested in me anymore. And then she follows him outside where he's maybe busy working and she wants to connect, she wants to talk. And he says, shh, don't talk. And she says, our marriage is over. Because the way that a male connects and the way that a female connects is two different ways. Two completely different ways. Men would sit there working together, doing something, not say a word, and at the end of the day they said, wow, that was great. One lady went with her husband. He loved hunting ducks. She went and she sat in that hunting booth the entire day, unable to say a word, because if she would speak up, she would scare the ducks away. They saw no ducks, they shot no ducks. But when they came out of the cold, walking 3 kilometers back to their car, the husband hit her on the back of her back and says, wow, this was the best day ever. She said, the best day ever? We didn't even talk. When a husband neglects to show love to his wife, or when a wife reacts by neglecting to show respect to her husband, look what happens in the back of his brain or her brain. All the Hellenistic memories of their past flashes back. The memories of neglect, or the memories of abuse, or the neglect in the family home just flushes back into their brain, and they start to analyze what is happening in their marriage in the context, not of the marriage, but in the context of the filters of the past life experience. It is as if they are looking through lenses of the past that completely distorts the reality of the moment that they are living in at that moment. My wife says to me one day, David, can you please go online? I'd like to have a look at our bank statement. So I'm a very dutiful husband that is very obedient at times. And I open my laptop, I go online to our internet banking. There's not much to bank there, but I go online and the statement comes up, and she leans over my shoulder. I can feel the hot air as she breathes in my neck, and suddenly her hand shoots past me and she says, what was that amount for? And that, look at that big amount. And I can feel the tension rise deep within me. And I want to jump up. I want to switch off the computer. Why do I feel so guilty and accused, as if I'm wasting our money? Eventually I say to my wife, I said, where's all this questioning leading? And what are you trying to say? In the past, I didn't say that. I would just react. I would just defend myself. But now I've been on the journey for some time, and I say to her, where's this questioning leading? She says, I was just hoping that there was still a bit of money in the bank so that we could buy a few more trees. We bought a property with no trees on it. I said to her, you mean, you know that those amounts there is what you've paid out, not me? She said, yeah, I know. So you're not trying to blame me? No, not at all. So why is it that I feel the way that I feel? Why do I then feel being so accused and so guilty? Because of the baggage that I carry with me from my childhood. It has nothing to do with my spouse. It is injuries that I carried from very early in my life. But I was blind to the self-talk. I was blind to the fact that I was carrying tinted lenses that completely distorted the reality of that moment. You with me? You hear what I'm saying? So friends, why I can't hear what you're saying The first point here is that we do not share our relational expectations or our relational photos in inverted commas. What do I mean by that? Each one of us carry in our mind a visual picture of what our relationships with other people should look like. Do you realize that? If you're a married person here tonight, you carry that picture in your brain and you expect that your spouse has exactly the same picture in their mind. And by the way, you're going to keep them responsible for the picture that you hold. But you hardly ever share that picture with each other. Just recently, a couple came in to see me in my office, and they were battling with their relationship. So I just prepared some photographs for our ministers' meeting, and I was going to play some therapy game with them without them realizing it. So I printed off some photographs, and I took the photos out, and I just threw them around on my desk in my office, and I said to the couple, I said, choose a photograph that resembles where your marriage is at this moment. I said, no, we're going to make it better. Choose a photo that tells you what is your hope and desires for your marriage. But don't show your photos to each other. I stood around looking at the photos, trying to make sure that the spouse do not see the photo that they look at for too long. I said, do you have your photo in mind? They said, yes. I said, okay, reach out simultaneously and grab your photo. And both of them reached out, and they took two separate photos. The husband took a photograph of a boat that was lying upside down on the seashore with two oars on the side, beautiful colours. The wife chose a grey, black and white grey photograph of sticks that has been tied together with a piece of rope. I said to them, share with each other what your picture means. And as they started to share with each other what their picture means, both of them had exactly the same desire for their marriage. Both of them, the husband said, our marriage is like that boat with the two oars. Each one of us is an oar in our marriage. And my biggest desire is for us to row together so that we can reach our end goal as a married couple. The wife said, we are like those sticks, separate, unique from each other. But our marriage is tied together so that we can be stronger, so that we can be one. That was their desire. But they chose each a different picture. My wife does not know what my picture is. And because she acts sometimes differently to what I think she should act, because my picture looks different to hers, what do I think then? That she doesn't love me or that she doesn't care. And I start to accuse her. And the moment I accuse her, she looks through the lenses of her past at my accusation, and she becomes defensive. We've now come to the place in our marriage, after 33 years, where when I realized that my wife did not hear the picture that I have in my mind, that I then give my glasses to her and I say to her, look at what I said through my lenses. She knows then at that point that what I meant is not what she heard, and that we need to reconnect. We're going to talk about that tomorrow night, about how to deal with conflict in our marriage. So I do not say what I mean often in my marriage. Why do I not say what I mean? Well, friends, I grew up in a home, as I said last night, where I felt that I was not fully accepted. So I will only share with my spouse that which is safe enough to share. But guess what? I will keep her responsible for that which I did not share. Unfair, isn't it? But that is the games that we play. That is the dance that we dance in marriage. And often, in the counseling room, I will get them to sit opposite each other, look at each other, and I will ask them to share with me the last fight that they've had. I'll take them back to the last fight, and I will ask the one that started it all. No, didn't start it all. They were the innocent one, just trying to express a need. To express it again. And I asked the other one, tell me, what did you hear your spouse said? We play a game where we try to get them to be able to express and show each other their true picture. The second point here is that we battle an overpowering personal self-talk. When my wife says something, when she asks me to open up the bank account online, I immediately can feel the tension, because there is a self-talk happening that has nothing to do with my spouse. It has everything to do growing up, watching my parents fight, yell at each other, abuse each other because of financial issues. I remember at the age of 12, I'd gone to bed that night still hearing Mum and Dad fighting. And somewhere around midnight, I woke up, and forgive me for just graphically saying it as it is, I had gotten emotionally, physically sick. I had vomited in my sleep, and I caught my vomit, and I woke up with a vomit in my hand. Was I really, did I catch a bug? No, my body was reacting to the stress of all the infighting that was happening. For me, fighting about finances meant that the marriage was over. Does couples disagree about finance in marriage? Very much so. Does that mean that the marriage is over? No. But the self-talk in our brain distorts the way that we look at things when there are conflict. Conflict is a good thing. It means that both of you are alive. It is how you deal with conflict that is the problem. Conflict means that one person has not abdicated in the relationship. Both are still individuals, and therefore, because we are individuals, we will see things different. The key lies in communicating and listening and trying to find a way out so that we can hear what the other one is saying, and try and find a way in which I can compromise so that we can work together. In my mother tongue, in my culture that I grew up in, we use the saying that marriage is like eating up a bag of salt. Ladies, when you cook, how much salt do you put in your food? When you cook, these people won't understand what I'm talking about now. It is the special African maize food that is really, when I talk about it, my saliva gland starts to overproduce. How much salt do you put in there? Not a lot. So how long will it take you to finish a big bag of salt? Not a small plastic bag. We talk about big bags of salt. It will take quite a number of years. And that is the point. We come out of different environments, coming together in the same home or in the same church or in the same community, and it's going to take time to rub on each other until we have smoothed each other to the point where my wife just has to say half of a word and I already know what she means. Have you noticed that two old people that have been married for many, many years start to look like each other? Have you noticed that an old person that have grown old with a pet dog also starts to look like? No, let's not go there. Okay. The last point here is that we dance an earlier learned defense mechanism dance in our relationships. A bit of an uncomfortable sentence that I put there, but I didn't know how else to manipulate the English language. We spoke about it last night, that when I feel deflated in my worth and in my value in a relationship, that there are three reactive ways in which I deal with it. Can anyone repeat it for me? The first one is I will either fight, or I will withdraw, or I will do the combination of those two. And although it didn't work when we were kids, and it backfired us when we were kids, we still continue to use it in our married life. And ladies, am I correct when I say that when you want to talk, your husband often runs away? Because when my wife says, let's talk, there's two things that go through a man's mind. What have I done wrong now? Is normally the first thought that goes through his mind. Am I right? The second thought is, what is it that she wants now? So men are quite sensitive to the word, let's talk. Females are very comfortable with that, not males. So we react to things in our relationships, which in actual fact, when I withdraw in self-defense, my wife then would read it as, I don't view her as important in my life. And that brings about the reactiveness again, that she then withdraws the respect. And when she withdraws the respect, I withdraw showing love towards her, and therefore there's a crazy cycle that happens, and very soon there's a conflict, and it only stops when one of us bursts out in tears. I hated to see my wife cry. And when I see my wife cry because of what I have done, I'm happy to take all responsibility and all guilt upon me. But that doesn't always solve it, because that again brings a reactiveness to the fore. I want to share with you another model. We looked at the Hellenistic model last night. I would like to share with you a biblical model of self. How self is formed. You will notice that on the right-hand side, I have placed exactly the same relationships as in the Hellenistic model. Why do I do that? I do that because that is historical. In this new model, I still have exactly the same parents. I still have the same siblings. I have the same spouse. I have the same community. My church community is all there. But here in the Hebrew model, something changes. In the Hebrew, the biblical model, I am on the outer skirts of this picture. Here I am. Remember in the Hellenistic model, where was I? Right in the middle. In the Hebrew model, I am on the same sideline as my parents, my siblings, my community, my spouse. As they have been battered by life, so have I been battered by life. So in this world, there's no expectation for them to speak my worth and my value. In the Hebrew model, there's only one person that is in the center of my world, and that is God. You see, my friends, in the Hebrew model, I realize that as I have been battered by life and have been injured by life, most probably the person that I have conflict with also has gone through battering and bruising in their life. I yearned for my Father to speak my worth. I worked hard to prove to my Father that I had value. But I always felt that I was an adopted child, that my older brother was the favored one. Did my father really have the capacity to react and respond to my worth and my value? Let me share a little bit about Dad's history, and then you decide. My father was the product of a British high society royalty lady that fell in love with a commoner in Britain in secret, because her family would never allow that relationship to develop. Her boyfriend turned 21, and she decided that she wanted to give him something very special. Young ladies, listen to me. Don't give this gift, not before you've committed to a young man in marriage. She decided to give him a special gift of her own body. When he turned 21, she fell pregnant, and the moment that she fell pregnant, her family found out what was happening, and they wanted to save the family from the shame and the disgrace of what was happening. So they shipped her off to one of the colonies of Britain, to South Africa, and there to carry the baby full term, deliver the baby, and immediately hand the baby over for adoption. The moment she gave birth, baby was swept away, placed in an orphanage. A Seventh-day Adventist missionary doctor, Dr. Holt, came with his wife, because they could not have any children, came to the orphanage to look for a baby. Here they saw a month-old baby lying in one of the cribs. They said, "We would love to adopt this little baby boy." "Sorry, doctor, this baby has just been adopted. The family is coming this weekend to pick this baby up." That's a shame. They left without the baby. And so that weekend, the Brixton Murder and Robbery Squad was looking for the Bonnie and Clyde copycat highway robbers of Southern Africa, and they had a road blockade between Johannesburg and Durban, and they caught this couple on their way, who were the Bonnie and Clyde copycat robbers, on their way to go and adopt a baby boy of 1 month old in Durban. A year later, the doctor and his wife went back to Durban, went back to the orphanage to see whether there was a baby that they could adopt. They saw this 1 and 1 month old baby. They said, "We'd love to adopt this little boy." I said, "Doctor, do you realize that that is the same boy that a year ago you wanted to adopt?" And they told him the story of how this couple had been caught by the police on their way to come and pick up the baby boy. So my father grew up with this medical doctor, missionary doctor, and his wife. And every morning he would jump into bed with mum and dad, and they would spend time just talking. He would lie between his mum and dad in bed. The only children that they had were adopted kids, and there was a big age difference. So he just flourished in the love and the attention that he received there. And his father would then get up, go and shave himself, get ready for the day's work as a district surgeon, especially working with the Zulu royal family. And at the age 15, he jumped into bed as normal, as he usually did, between his mum and dad. His father eventually got up to go and shave and get ready to go and work, and his mum decided that this was the moment that she needed to inform him. So while dad was busy shaving out of the room, mum turned to him and said, "Son, there's something I need to tell you. You're not actually a boy." The way that it came across to my father was, his mum said to him, "It's time for you to go. We've looked after you long enough now." I believe that is not what she meant, but that is the message that he received. He continued to have a very strong relationship with his father. It was the relationship with mum that was disconnected, and throughout his entire life, he searched for the female figure in his life. Married mum, but demands in a marital relationship just triggered that crazy cycle, and he continued to search. I'm the fourth child that was born. I had already part of my brain. I could still remember my father talking to one of his friends that was a police officer, an investigator, and they staked out the house for 3 days. On the 4th day, they got up after the husband had left for work. The kids had gone to school. They went up to the door. They knocked on the door, and the lady of the house opened the door. The policeman showed his police badge, and he said, "Ma'am, I'm here investigating the identity of a man, and I have a reason to believe that you can help us with this identity. Can we come in?" So she opened the door further. They went in, and the policeman started to question her. And as she responded positively to each and every question that she asked, my father realized the lady sitting across from him was his biological mum. The second time that the policeman asked her, "Ma'am, have you ever wanted to meet your son?" And she again confirmed, "Yes." He said, "Ma'am, let me introduce you to your son." My father got up, walked across the room, kissed his mum for the first time in his life, sat down next to her, they spoke for a while, and then suddenly she became serious. Her face, tone of voice changed, and she said, "There's something that I need to tell you. The family that I now have do not know about you. If you would come into my life right now, listen to the words, you will be shamed to me." What does the word shame mean? That you are defective, you're deficient, you fall, you will never measure up, you will never be good enough. My father left that house devastated. And although they then from there went and he found his biological father and built a relationship with his biological father, it is the mother that he yearned for. And right up to his deathbed, 8 years ago, Dad grappled with the question, am I good enough? Not just am I good enough for my kids and for my family, but even am I good enough for God? He was a lay preacher, and he was a very good presenter. He was able to share the gospel very clearly with others. But when it came to him, Dad always had a question whether he was good enough even to be accepted by God. Here's my question today to you. Was Dad stable enough to be able to speak my worth and my value? Was he? So my friends, if I would continue to ask Dad to speak my worth and my value, I would constantly be injured. And therefore, when I look at this model where God becomes the center, he becomes the sole person that can speak my worth and my value. And what does God say about my worth and my value? He says that I've loved you with an everlasting love. With loving kindness have I drawn you. Even before the foundation of the world, I've loved you. That sounds like unconditionality, am I right? No matter where I've been, no matter how deep I have fallen, he says, if you will confess, I will forgive and I will cover you with my righteousness. He prays on the cross. As he hangs on that cross, he prays the prayer, Father, forgive them, for they are sorry for what they have done. Is that right? No. He says, Father, forgive them, for they know not even what they've done. They've not yet even come to that point where they've been convicted of the wrong. He says, Father, forgive them, set them free. Unconditionality. Yes, God, through Jesus Christ, hates sin, but he loves the sinner. Then the psalmist comes in Psalms 139, and he says that when you were made in secret, God already knew your name, knew your end form. Friends, I know that some cultures do not speak very easily about this, so I will try to be very sensitive about this and try to just speak in broad strokes, if that is okay. But when your parents came together to form you, Mum gave one ovum, Dad gave 300 million sperm cells. Only one of those sperms could be you. The odds of you being you is greater than the Olympics, of being the champion in the Olympics. It is 1 out of 300 million of a chance of you becoming you. If any other sperm had reached that ovum first, you would have been your brother or your sister. Do you realize that? God says that when that Big Bang happens, he says, I was there, my hand was over you. I guided that sperm. And the moment that the sperm went into the ovum, it immediately draws a shield around it so that no other can come in, so that you alone would be the one that would be formed. Immediately there's a cell division that starts, and within 24 hours there is millions of cells that have been divided and subdivided and redivided. And we call it the Marula state, where there's an explosion of cells. No form. God said already then, I knew your end form. I called you by your name. You are mine. Do you realize how important you are to God? That he designed you. He made you. You were a champ. Long before you needed to perform. God had written over your life his name, because you were his prescription baby. Therefore, my dear friends, God becomes the only agent to define human value. What is this value based upon? Let me give you the Hebrew formula of your value, that my value is equal to the life and the death of Jesus Christ, period. It doesn't matter how deep you have fallen. It doesn't matter how far you have gone astray from God. Your value does not change. Doesn't matter how much sin has deformed you. God's fingerprint is over your life because He's your maker. But not just your designer, He's also the one that came and bought you with His own blood. And therefore, we do not find our true self by seeking it. We actually find it by seeking God. God has the ability to make out of Sauls Pauls, to make out of sons of thunder apostles of love, and is able to make out of the greatest struggling sinner a true child of the King of all kings. I'd like to share with you very briefly how to bring about change, how to speak change. When we grew up and we were injured, Satan made sure that a neural pathway was formed in our mind. So when someone comes and says to me, "That is stupid," what happens immediately in my mind? I immediately think rejection. And sometimes my wife, in her innocence, would say to me, "You know what you said there was stupid." And what happens inside me? An irritation and abrasiveness starts to develop. What I've learned is that we can change the way. We can change the way that we think and behave. It needs intentionality. And I'm going to give it to you. Step one is to speak your true feelings. So my wife comes and says to me, "David, can we please have a look at our bank account?" And she leans over me. Her breath is hot in the back of my neck. And I can feel the tension rise in me as a hand just shoots forward, and she said, "What's that amount for? What was that paid out for?" And I can feel the aggression and the defense mingling and wanting to go into self-defense. Right there, I stop myself because I have become aware of my own self-talk. I stop myself and I speak my true self that as it's been reflected through the Hellenistic model. And I say to my wife, "Honey, you know, when you ask the questions in that tone, I immediately can feel my entire being becoming stressed and I want to defend myself." Then I speak my default reaction. She knows it well. She knows it well. For 33 years she's experienced it. And when I feel this tension rise within me, I want to attack you in self-defense. And I know that I would then just withdraw because then I know that I've shown my true colours. And my wife would say, "Amen. I know exactly that, David." When I speak the truth about myself. But you see, I'm not going to explode in self-defense because I know that my true worth and my value is not spoken by you. It is in reality spoken by God. And God has said to me, whether I have wasted money or not, it's immaterial. I hold my worth. It is stable in the eyes of God because He died for me. And then I speak our new reaction according to the Hebrew model. And instead of fighting and then withdrawing, I actually would love to rather take a step closer to you and ask you a question. Where's this questions coming from and where's it leading? Or if there's been a fight between us, if I said or done something that has hurt you, I'm sorry. Please share with me what you really need. You know what a reaction is? A reaction when I did it the first time was, huh? Let's sit down, let's talk about this. I never realized this. I never realized that my question brings this up within you. I work with a young couple. She is a Singaporean Chinese. He's an Australian. 15 years, age difference. They are constantly at loggerhead. She's a trained therapist herself. She comes in for therapy to try and get some advice on how to deal with conflict in a marriage. And as I journey with her through these two models and I bring her to this point, she cancels the next appointment. Well, not immediately. She takes the next appointment and phones later in and cancels the appointment. 2 weeks later, she rebooks, she comes in, and when she sits down, she said to me, I want to apologize. Last time when I was with you and you shared these models with me, she said, I'd never heard about this at university, and I thought this is the biggest rubbish. So that's why I cancelled. And my husband had hardly walked into the house and we were at it again, fighting, disagreeing, and I tried all the techniques that I was taught at university and nothing worked. I tried and I tried and I tried. Last week I reached the end of my life. And I said to myself, what the heck? What is there to lose? So as we were at it again fighting, I said to my husband, she said, honey, you know, whenever we fight like this, I'm reminded about how I felt as a child when my parents did not show me any respect. And she said, I would just withdraw, hoping that they would come and search for me, but they never came. And that told me the more that I was worthless and that I had no value. I now realize that my value was not spoken by my parents nor by you. My value is in actual fact solid, stable in the face of God. And therefore, honey, I would rather want to ask you a question. Instead of withdrawing, have I said something or done something that has made you feel that I would not respect you? The husband was dumbfounded. He knew the person that would withdraw. He didn't know this one. He said, let's sit down, let's talk. I want to know more about what's happening. Something has changed in you. Tell me about it. She said that was the last that we fought. Because now I start to use this formula. Friends, did you notice that I said that you have to speak it? In order to bring about a new neural pathway, a thinking pathway, you need to either write it down or you have to speak it, because you have to move the information that is stored in the one hemisphere of the brain. You need to move it across to the other hemisphere in order to forge a new neural pathway. And the only way that you can do it is not to think it, but you've got to write it or speak it. In order to get it in a linguistic form, you have to move the information. And in speaking the change, if you would at least do it intentionally 90 times, research says you would have forged a new neural pathway. It will become your new way of thinking. So I hope that you've written it down and that you will try it out. I want to very briefly tell you what the 3 lies is that Satan tells us. You are what you do. When 2 males come together, within first 5 minutes, they would have asked each other the following question. What do you do? Why do we do it as males? Because we tend to value ourselves according to what we do. That is a lie that Satan puts upon us. And I must say that I grew up in a country where if you were not a medical doctor or you were not a solicitor, you were second grade. I'm so grateful that God has brought me to a country where a gutter sweeper and a medical doctor can sit on the same pew in church and be friends. I thank God for that. The second lie that Satan tells us is that you are what you have. And this drives consumerism. The moment that I bought my iPhone and I walk out of the Apple store or Vodafone store, they must just announce immediately that there's a new iPhone that's just coming out. And what happens? The desire deep inside is, I've got to get that one. I'm dissatisfied with this one. I want a new one. Consumerism. But we look at how others, what others have, and we value ourselves against what others have. The third is that you are what people say about you. Hear me tonight. Not before someone is willing to die for you, to die in your place for you, is their critical opinion worth it to change or to burden your life with. Friends, I want to turn it around. For every word of criticism that you speak, you will need at least 20 words or 20 words of approval and praise to undo the damage that one sentence of criticism has done. In the book Ministry of Healing, Ellen White's inspired to write and says about people that live with addictions, people that live in the gutters of the street. She advises, she says, never speak one word of censure, of criticism, of judgment. Because if you would do that, you actually will speak into the hands of Satan, because the sinner is already breaking themselves down. And if you do it as well, you will be speaking the same language as Satan. She says, speak words of faith, speak words of hope, words of encouragement. Come alongside the sinner and journey with them. I think that is words that we could take to heart and live our lives by. The lies that Satan tells us gives a false sense of value. The truth that you need to hear is that you are the beloved of God. Your significance is found in Him. I want to end off with one Bible text reference and then one Spirit of Prophecy quote. Is that okay? I'm going to Matthew chapter 13, verse 45 and verse 46. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant seeking beautiful pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. What is this parable speaking about? What is the pearl of great price, and who is the merchant that goes out who sold everything to buy that pearl? Any thoughts? Write down this text, go home, I want you to pray about it and think about it. I'm going to give you a quote out of Christ Object Lessons, page 118. It says, the parable of the merchantman seeking goodly pearls has a double significance. It applies not only to men as seeking the kingdom of heaven, but to Christ as seeking his lost inheritance. So yes, I need to sell everything that I have, give up everything in order to attain eternal life. But that's not all. It also says that heaven was willing to give up everything to search for the greatest sinner on this planet, to buy them back. She continues, she says, Christ, the heavenly merchantman seeking goodly pearls, saw in perfect humanity. Is that what it says? No. Saw in lost humanity the pearl of price. In man, defiled and ruined by sin, he saw the possibility of redemption, hearts that have been the battleground of the conflict with Satan and that have been rescued by the power of love are more precious to the Redeemer than are those who have never fallen. Isn't that amazing? God looks upon humanity not as vile and worthless. He looks upon it in Christ, saw it and it might become through the Redeemer's love. I want you to think about the most obnoxious person, the one that really acts in a way that you just can't build a friendship with them because of the way that they live. Jesus had died for that person. Jesus, in actual fact, given everything for exactly that person. And God is asking us to see not what they have done wrong, but rather to see how much they are worth through Jesus Christ and act upon that worth. Just imagine the scene. Jesus coming up to Satan, who has now claimed the broken pearl. Are you a broken person, my friend? Have you got cracks in your life? Has sin marred the image of God in your life? He has done it in my life. Jesus coming up to Satan, who claims that he owns that pearl. And Jesus says, Satan, how much for that pearl? Satan says, you wouldn't want to have this pearl? Have you noticed that it's cracked? It is flawed? It doesn't shine as the others that you've collected? This one is broken. It's not worth it. Let go, forget about it. Jesus says, Satan, how much for that pearl? Come on, Jesus. Go to those that are not shining. Satan, how much for that pearl? It's not worth it, Christ. It is broken, it is cracked, it is marred. How much? And as Satan realizes that Jesus is serious about that pearl, Satan says, the price is too high. It's not going to be worth it for you because it's going to cost you everything. How much, Satan? It will cost you your life. Jesus says, I will take it. That is the gospel, my friend. And God is asking for individuals in His church that will be intentional in reflecting that grace to broken people. Because it is through that grace that they can come to the belief that they do hold the value in God's eyes and that they will want to live according to their grace and allow the Holy Spirit to transform them and change them to become pillars in God's church. Let's pray together. Gracious Father, dear Lord, it is so easy to see the ugliness, the fighting, the withdrawing, the combination that people display. And because that brings within us a resistance, it is so easy to step away and to say, I don't want to have anything to do with this. But you've called us. Yes, when we fought and when we withdraw and when we use that combination of self-defense mechanism, Lord, you still came to die for us. You were persistent. You still continue to show your grace and your love for us. And as we responded, you poured your love upon us that transformed us. Tonight I pray that you will transplant our heart with your grace, so that as we look around at others that are struggling in life, Father, that instead of seeing their brokenness, that we will see the enormous price that heaven hath paid. And therefore that we will come alongside them, support them and guide them and love them back into your kingdom. Give us that intentionality. The intentionality, Lord, of loving without condition. Help us so that we can make a distinction between the person and their behavior as heaven does. Make us instruments of your grace. In Jesus' name I pray.